year. So let me start with the good news from the economy, and that's something, if you've heard the Prime Minister speaking in the last little while, he misses no opportunity to boast that Canada last year had the stronger growth amongst the G7 countries. So from all the major industrialized countries, Canada's growth was 3%. Now, let me go a little bit on a little bit of context here. 3% is probably as good as it gets. And in fact, in today's context, you probably don't want growth of 3% too much, for too long. The reason being is that the cruising speed of the economy, so the natural rate or the potential growth rate of the economy now is about half of that. Not that long ago, the Bank of Canada said a fully operating Canadian economy would grow at about 1.6%. And a couple weeks ago, it says, now we think it's around 1.8%. It's a theoretical number, but the point is, today's natural growth in the economy is a lot less than 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. 20 years ago, growth rate of 3% we would have considered, it's an okay year. Today, it's a fantastic growth year. So the standards have changed in terms of the of growth in the economy. 3% is as good as it gets, and in fact, we don't want to have too many repeat performances of 3%. The reason being it might stoke inflation. We don't want that. So last year was an excellent growth in Canada. Move on. For Ontario's been on a very good streak over the last 4 years. Didn't quite grow at around 3%, but it was somewhere between 2.5% and 3%. That too is probably as good as it gets. Now yesterday we got the first set of official numbers. Those are still forecasts, but we were pretty close. The only thing that we got yesterday in the numbers that was really different from what I'm showing here, and these are, the longer the bar is, the stronger the growth rate in 2017, was Newfoundland was actually a positive growth last year. Alberta, it was in a way the big story last year. Alberta went from 2 years in 2015 and 16, a very severe recession, and started to recover last year. Now it grew. Now the official number is 4.9%. We thought it would be around 4.2%. Still, it's barely recovering about half of what it lost during the recession. So Alberta is not out of the woods yet, but still some great progress. And we think that from an overall perspective in Canada, it's great to have Alberta back in growth mode. So, but Ontario in there is close to national average of 3%, 2.8%, and we were right on that forecast. This is exactly what it got last year. The great thing from a worker's perspective is that now the unemployment rate in Ontario is the lowest since we've seen since 2000. So low unemployment rate, and the GTA in particular, the GTA is always, and the Toronto CMA is always a little bit higher because we tend to attract a lot of people looking for work. So, but still, we're at historically low unemployment rates. Let's call that pretty much around full employment. So we've got a labor market just on fire in Ontario. This is great. We move to the next slide. But it means many things. Amongst other things here is that households feel pretty good. Now you've got a job, you have still more job options that you've had in years, if not decades now. So you feel pretty confident. Now wages, and I'll show it in a few moments, wages are starting to rise. Feel pretty good about this. So people are, and incomes are rising. So people are spending more in Ontario. The consumer spending has been rising. I'm showing here new motor vehicle sales, which to me is a very telling indicator of confidence on the parts of households. And they've been, in 2017 was the fourth straight record year of a new motor vehicle sales in Ontario. So to me, it tells a lot about the confidence in the state of the households in Ontario. And mind you, this is not just Ontario, specific to Ontario. You look across Canada, most provinces have seen record numbers of new motor vehicle sales. If you bought a new car or new SUV or pickup in last year, you're not alone, because it's been a definite trend in Ontario and also in North America as well. And the auto sales are really strong.